Hey guys, and welcome to Functional Print Friday. Welcome back to my shop. So we're over here at the Kennedy tool chest this week, and I want to get this drawer cleaned up. This is actually the last drawer in this chest that has at least lathe and mill tooling in it that I have not tackled yet. The drawer above this one, we did in a previous video. This has all of my quick change tooling in it, and I use this all the time. This tool chest is right behind my lathe. The lathe is in that direction, so I can just kind of pivot from the lathe to this tool chest and work very quickly here with my tooling. The one above this has more tooling in it and some other assorted goodies. And the one above this has even more tooling in it. This has pretty much all of my taper drill bits and some adapters and some other parts and stuff. So if you're seeing a stark difference between how these drawers look and how this one looks, yeah, let's fix that today. And it looks kind of haphazard in here. It's actually very much purposeful the way things are placed. Most of what's in here is live centers. There's also an ER40 collet chuck with a Morse taper on it, and then 2 drill chucks. This is all the stuff that I typically use in the tailstock of my lathe. And the reason it's all spaced out like this is because I'm trying to protect the tapers. These are precision ground, as is the female taper in the tailstock of the lathe. And if these things get dinged up, not only can they damage the taper in the tailstock, but things just don't line up the way you want. It doesn't seat in there and lock the way that it should. So it's really important that the tapers on these stay protected. So I want to come up with a way to use this drawer that has these in a much more orderly fashion, but still keeps all of the tapers safe. So what I was originally thinking about doing for organizing this drawer was designing a bunch of flat inserts in here that would replace this. And I guess be, kind of a standard size or one of a couple of different sizes that these would basically drop halfway into. So if you imagine sort of, down the center line of one of these, it would sit down into sort of an insert that matched that shape. And maybe I'd have some finger holes on the side, so I could reach down in there and grab this out without, fighting with it to get it out. And I think that would look really cool. The thing is, it's not super practical because as I get new pieces of tooling and these pieces of tooling rotate out, I mean, some of these are just cheapy Amazon ones. Like actually this one I'm holding is a perfect example. This is a heavy duty live center from Amazon. I'll probably get a nicer one at some point because yeah, it's okay. It serves me fine for now, but I know at some point I'll either see one at a swap meet or I'll see a good deal on one and I'll get a better one. And then this won't fit anymore. Well, this one will fit, but the new one won't fit in the spot where this one was. So what I'm instead thinking of doing is a rack. I know a lot of people just have these standing straight up in a rack, either next to their lathe or on their lathe. I do want them in the drawer. I've really enjoyed having the quick change tooling in the drawer like this. Again, I'm basically just turning 180 degrees to get to this drawer from where I stand at the lathe. Everything stays nice and clean. I like it in the chest. Now, these won't stand up in here. They're too tall. Even the shortest of these is way too tall to fit in this drawer, but I'm thinking we could probably have them at kind of an angle. This is going to need to come out, this plastic insert from Kennedy. This came with the chest. But what I'm thinking is, what if we had them standing up at like maybe 5 degrees, 10 degrees, maybe 45 degrees would probably be too steep. I think they're going to stick up. And some of these are pretty long, like this drill chuck. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll have to do some math and kind of figuring out exactly what angle we could get to where they'd still stand up. But kind of imagine all these running across the front of the drawer in a holder like this. So we'd drop them in at an angle, and they'd all just run right across the front. And as long as they weren't wider than, say, the widest tool I have now, which is this real big, beefy drill chuck, or the tangs aren't any longer than the longest of the tanged tooling that I have. Like this is, what I mean by that is, this is a live center. This has a bearing in it, so this is not going to try and spin in the tailstock, so it doesn't have a tang. This has a tang on it because this is a drill chuck. This actually locks into the back of the tailstock so that this can't spin even under pretty heavy rotational force. That tang makes it quite a bit longer. So I think if we incorporate into our design, again, the longest of these tapers with a tang and the fattest of sort of the head of the tooling, it should be pretty universal. Again, as I swap tooling out, I get new stuff. I should be able to still use the same rack. I think this guy's going to be an outlier. This is a live center for a pipe. It's meant to, rather than a point that fits into a center that you would cut into your material, this is actually designed to fit, to go into a pipe, and then the pipe, or any large diameter thing that's hollow in the center or that has been bored, it seats up against this face. And this thing is just huge. Seeing it in my hand there, you probably get a better idea of scale. So we might not be able to incorporate this guy, but that's okay. If we have one custom insert for this, that's not the end of the world. All right, let me get everything out of this drawer and get this plastic tray out of here. All right, and with that plastic insert out of here, we can get kind of a better idea of how much vertical space we have to work with, just eyeballing stuff in here. So I grabbed my largest drill chuck with a Morse Taper 3, and if I just kind of hold this in here at an angle and keep the tang off the bottom of the drawer, you can see it still clears just fine. And I'm at a pretty healthy angle here. I mean, that's probably, I don't know, maybe 15 degrees. I'll estimate it with the protractor, but I think that's gonna work. So I think that's going to be the first step, is figuring out where this taper is going to sit in relation to the bottom of the drawer in our design. So I'm going to draw up just like a basic rectangle with that taper shape in it at an angle, and print it out and just kind of see where it lands. So sit tight. Let me get that drawn up, print it out, and I'll bring you guys back. All right, 2 hours later, or 2 seconds for you guys, this is already set to go. So let's try it. Start with the drill chuck. Should just see let's see how the taper seats first. Yeah, a little bit of rock in the back. That's fine. Honestly, it's probably, I bet you it's just a little tight up here at the end. This was our top surface, so that probably closed up a little bit. I printed it standing up like this. Yeah, tiny bit of rock in the back. So I think I'm happy with that. Let's see how it sits in the drawer. I can't fit my index finger in it, but I can just fit my pinky under it. So that's pretty good. And actually about the same at the top. So I've got one FPF pinky worth of space underneath the chuck and above it. So that tells me that we are probably at just about the right angle. It's not a guarantee that everything's going to fit. Let's try this ER collet chuck. Yeah, same thing. This one I don't think is going to fit, but let's just try it. No, it's I don't know if you can see it rolling there. It's contacting the drawer. And yeah, we have basically no space at the top. It's not hitting, but there's maybe 2 millimeters there. So I don't think we have room to make this one work, but that's okay. That would have just been a nice to have. And this is the other one that's kind of big. Yeah, we're clearing by a mile. So, all right, so this is going to be oriented like this. So imagine sort of these all lined up. It's got to be wider than this. I need to have room to be able to come in here and grab these. So yeah, all right, I'm gonna go back up to CAD, do some more drawing, and bring you guys back. But I think in theory, this looks like it's gonna work. All right, and here is the design that I came up with for this. And I imagine the first thing your eyes are probably drawn to is these dovetails on the side. And yep, if you guessed that that is how we're gonna join these together, you are right. We're gonna need 6 or 7 of these. So I've got this dovetail piece that I'm hoping I can essentially just slide down between 2 of these to join these together, and then just, all ganged together until we have as many as we need for the drawer. The other thing that I did is, I didn't talk about this, but it was always part of the plan. This tall part up here at the top is designed to lock into the front of the drawer. There's going to be a fair amount of force pulling these guys forward in this direction when I close the drawer. Even if I don't slam it, they're still going to want to shift forward. So this is going to serve a couple different purposes. Not only is this going to keep these from sliding forward, it's also going to keep them all nicely aligned. I tried to design this. I took some measurements of the sheet metal from the front of the drawer and tried to design this that it should tuck right in underneath there. I think we'll be able to just kind of rotate it into place. The front lip, I kind of added after the fact. Actually, I had this whole thing at this taller height, basically at the height of this face up here. I dropped it down. We're still nowhere really near that taper. We've got plenty of space there. If I knock these side faces off so you can kind of see what's going on there. I brought this down thinking that we might be able to use this for storage. As these are all connected together, we'll have all that space across the front of the drawer that we can't really use for anything else because we need these 3D printed pieces up there to hold that taper tooling, but otherwise it just kind of felt like it was going to be wasted space. So I thought if I drop that down a little, maybe we'd be able to use this for like the chuck key for the keyed chuck, or even the key for the keyless chuck, which I know sounds weird that a keyless chuck would have a key, but it does. So I think I'm going to print 2 of these out. That way we can test how everything fits in the drawer. We can test how the taper fits, and we can test the distance between 2 of these to kind of see if that looks like the right spacing for the tooling. All right, I'm going to print 2 of these out and bring you guys back. All right, our 2 test prints have completed, as well as our dovetail key. So let's make sure that this guy still fits in here. Yeah, that fits really good. Actually, maybe too good. Oops. I guess I did kind of ram it in there pretty good. Yeah, it's kind of locking in our 3D printed taper. Might need to rethink how we have the tapers in these, because I don't actually want it to lock in there. I just want it to hold it securely. Yeah, that's getting stuck. I mean, I can get it to pop out, but I don't want it to be that hard to remove these. All right, let's see how our key works. All right, key fits in really good. I have a small bit of movement if I really pull at it, but I'm not going to tweak that any further. I'm happy with that fit. And it's not like it could slide like this in the drawer, because this part back here is hopefully going to lock into the top of the drawer. Let's go try that. Almost can't even see that key from the back because it's all one texture. It just kind of disappears in there. Okay, we're hitting back here at the back. Hadn't really considered that. And it's not like we could slip it in from the ends. I think what we could probably do, though, is just add some relief to the back, because once this drops into place, yeah, I'm just trying to imagine in my head how this is going to sit. Once this drops into place, we only need to keep it from sliding forward. And if we take a chunk of material out of the back so that this can rotate into place, I think we'll still be okay. Everything else, I think I'm happy with. Let's see where we end up here lengthwise. Oh, we've actually got a good bit of space there. We could probably shorten this up. I think this is the longest one, this taper and tang. Let me just check some of the other ones quick. Yeah, of all the ones with a tang, this one is the longest. Just using my finger as a gauge. So I think we could actually shorten this up. So, all right, I'm going to go. I like the overall design. I don't know for sure yet how it's going to do locking into the top here. But I'm going to shorten this by probably half the distance that I have in this one. And we'll put a relief here at the back, so that this guy can rotate into place. We probably need, I don't know, maybe 10 millimeters off the back there. All right, I'll bring you guys back. All right, our updated design is done, and I made a number of changes to this. I did shorten the whole thing up, and we were seating a bit tight in this taper. I tried putting slots all the way down the full length of the taper and a bevel up here on the front. I'm hoping that it doesn't seat as tightly in there. Let's try that first. No, it's, yeah, if anything, it's worse. I'm probably still going to keep that though. I might have just put it in there really hard. Yeah, it's probably about the same actually. I don't think it's any different. It's not better, but I don't think it's worse either. The other thing I was thinking about was, since this is such a deep, smooth taper, it's going to be hard to see in there, particularly with this guy down in the drawer. So if we ever do actually collect any chips or anything in there, I want a place for them to go. I don't want them to get trapped between the inside of our plastic taper and the shaft of our taper tooling. So I'm thinking that if it's a small chip, you know, something that's easy to miss when putting it away, that these the slits in here, or the slots, whatever you want to call it, that run the full length of that taper, are going to give that junk some place to go. So we'll keep that. It only really solved the one issue that I was thinking of, but that's okay. The other things that I did was I added the relief here in the back to hopefully allow it to rotate into the drawer. Let's try it. Well, solved one problem, created a new one. It's now loose. Looks like we probably just need to add some material to the bottom. And maybe even make this a little bit wider. The other thing I remembered was in these drawers is that there are machine screws that come through from this side to hold these handles in place. Let me get you down, I'll show you what I mean. All right, got you guys inside the drawer now, and you can see those two screw heads in here that hold that aluminum handle onto the front. And that bit me in the past when I did the other drawers with high sections in the front, and I had to go modify the design after the fact. I actually did remember it on this one. Not in the first version, but when I made the changes to this version, I remembered they were in there. So this should slide past those screws. Yeah. Yeah, we're good with that. So happy with that. All right, I'm gonna go add some more material to the bottom of this so it sits up in here like it's supposed to, and I'll bring you guys back. All right, I'll save you guys some of the drama. It actually took me 2 more tries to get this correct. So this first one that I did, actually no, it's the second one. Yeah, this is the first one I did. Was close, but what I didn't notice was this this piece of sheet metal here at the bottom of the drawer. I don't even know if you guys can see that on camera. It looks really dark on the screen, but basically the sheet metal that makes up the bottom of the drawer has a bend in it and comes up partway to the front piece. And the back here was hitting against it. The relief that we put in to allow this guy to rotate in place was really close to allowing it to clear that, but not quite. So this version is exactly the same thing, but our relief in the back comes up just a little bit higher. Still clear of the dovetail, but comes up just high enough to avoid that extra piece of metal at the back, and it sits flat down in the drawer. This one, I don't know if you guys can see, it's not actually sitting flat in the drawer. There's a gap there in the front because it can't rotate all the way down. The back is hitting against that piece of metal. So I think we've got it with this one. Let's try a piece of tooling in here. Oh, the other thing I did on both these, if you compare it to this one, I angled our storage shelf here back a little bit. I noticed in toying with this one after I turned the camera off that in kind of slamming the drawer, things were still sometimes kind of hopping up here. What I'm thinking about with this space here, yeah, what I'm thinking about is using this for stuff like this. There's this, the key for the chuck, the key for the other chuck. That stuff I figured I can kind of set in this front rail that we're going to have along the front. But I noticed that when I was slamming the drawer shut, stuff was kind of hopping that. So in these two, I set that angle back, and I think that might do it. I think now between this angle here and the lip up here, it's just too much for this stuff to actually get out of there. At least I'm hoping. We're not going to know till we really try it. And let's just pop something in here. Yeah, there you guys can get a better idea now of what that's going to look like. Let me pick you up. All right, hopefully with that view, you guys can get a better idea just of how things are fitting in here and how that keys in. You can see that angle drop back here, as well as the angle that this guy seats in place. And it's really the front of the drawer. It's this sheet metal lip up here that is really holding this in place. If I pull this out, see, that's not going to freestand. All the weight's up here. It just pulls that right over. But once we're locked in at the front of the drawer, it's basically pivoting. The weight is up here and down here on our front corner. So that should work well. And I think this is at enough of an angle, again, that stuff will stay in sort of this tray that we're going to form across the front. And this guy should be retained. Let's try slamming this. All right, I slammed that pretty hard. And it did unseat, but it didn't come out. So I think we'll be good. I don't envision slamming it like that. The more weight that's in these drawers, the better it is. Like this one that's above it that has all my quick change tooling, I can just kind of give it a push, and the weight in the drawer perfectly closes it without slamming it. I don't think this one is going to be quite as heavy, at least not to start off with, but it should be heavy enough that it closes nicely. So, all right, I need to print, let's see, 6 of these. Let me get those going, and I'll bring you guys back. All right, all these prints came out really nice. As tempting as it is to assemble all these in the bench, I don't know that we'll be able to get it in place. I think at least where those screws are going to prohibit us from rotating these down into place. I think we need to rotate these in and then slide them to where those screws are. So let's go over to the drawer and start putting these in place one at a time, and then push our dovetails in. All right, that is already looking pretty nice. Let's get the dovetails in. Oh, that one went right in. 3 of these other ones, I had to use the quick grip clamp to get them in there, for better or for worse. I mean, they're definitely not going anywhere. All right, I think that's working out really well. I was a little bit concerned about getting these unseated from these tapers, but in messing with it here for a few minutes, I realized it's all about technique. If I come down like this and I try and get it out, I actually almost kind of need 2 hands. They can get stuck in there pretty good. But if I bring my hand in like this, and I get my index finger and my thumb, I can kind of use my hand like a wedge, and they just pop right out. So it's all about technique. I'm glad I did not get too stuck on trying to get these tapers to somehow be tight enough without actually seating, because yeah, I just need to rotate my arm around this way and just sort of squeeze them out. This one sticks out so far. That one's probably the hardest one to get out. The other ones, they pop out. Yeah, they all pop out pretty easy with that sort of wedge approach with my thumb and my index finger. Yeah, and we've got room down here in the end for this pipe center. It's just a matter of figuring out how we design for that. I think I want it to sit flat like this, similar to the original design I talked about. Actually, if this guy is standing up like that, is it? No. It doesn't even clear standing up, so it's going to have to be at an angle like that. So that actually could be fairly tricky to design. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Tell me down in the comments, what would you do for this last one down here at the end, and what would you do for the rest of this drawer? That's what we're going to tackle in next week's video, is figuring out how to design the rest of this drawer. I do need some space to get these out. Like this one's probably the longest. Let's see if I can get everything in frame here. If I reach in and grab this one, I really don't need that much. You can see it's coming up at an angle, so I could definitely do storage probably up as far as just in front of the nose of these guys if I keep it fairly low, and I can get back up to full height storage in the back of the drawer. So again, let me know down in the comments, what would you do both for the pipe center over here at the end, as well as the storage for the rest of the drawer. And just as a quick comparison, here is the other drawers. This one I never really designed anything for the back either. I don't really use the stuff back there that much. I do use the boring bars occasionally, but the majority of the time I'm just up here on this tooling. And these drawers, the storage does go all the way to the back. So we have all these standard shapes to work with. These drawers are all the same dimensions. They're, obviously these drawers are not as tall as this one, but I have all these standard sizes. So we could just kind of fill the back with like a row of ones like this, but I don't don't know, maybe I'm missing an opportunity to do something else back there. I am really happy with how that looks though. So again, let me know down in the comments, what would you do for the back of this drawer and what would you do for the pipe center? Guys, as always, thanks for hanging out in the shop with me for this design and build. And I don't find myself saying this often, but I'm actually really glad that I procrastinated doing this drawer because this is not at all the original design I was going to go with. Again, the original design was going to have each one of these sitting flat and each one of them was going to be a custom little compartment. I don't know if that would have looked cool or been more usable than what we came up with, but yeah, this is great and they're all interchangeable. I could swap out all 6 of these with similar pieces and they'd all still fit just fine without doing any more design and printing work. So if this is your first time on the channel, this is what we do here. It's all functional prints like this. A lot of them out here in the shop. I do stuff around the house and out in the yard as well. But if you're into that sort of thing, if you like more of that design and engineering aspect of the hobby, check out some of the other videos on the channel. And if you see what you like, hit that subscribe button. And guys, if you do, I'll see you next Friday.